Hello friends, my name is Marcia, and this is Midwest Murders. Today we take a look at the chilling unsolved murder of a young woman whose life was tragically cut short in 1966 Riverside, California. This case remains a haunting mystery that has left the police and community looking for answers for almost 6 decades. This is the story of Cheri Jo Bates. Cheri was an 18-year-old student at Riverside City College, the younger of 2 children born to Joseph and Irene Bates. The family had relocated to California from Nebraska in 1957 when Joseph found employment as a machinist at the Corona Naval Ordnance Laboratory. Described as bright, friendly, and full of life, Cheri was well liked by those who knew her. A recent graduate of Ramona High School, she had been a varsity cheerleader, active in the student government, and an honor student. Cheri worked part-time at the Riverside National Bank and was the proud owner of a 1960 lime green Volkswagen Beetle. She lived with her father at 4195 Via San Jose, her parents having divorced in 1965. On the morning of October 30th, 1966, Cheri and her father attended Sunday Mass at St. Catherine of Alexandria Catholic Church before the two shared breakfast at a local restaurant. Cheri is believed to have left her house to go to the college library sometime between 4:30 and 5 p.m. Her father returned home in the evening to find a note taped to the family refrigerator that said, "Dad went to RCC Library." Joseph Bates waited the entire night for his only daughter to return home before filing a missing person report with the Riverside Police Department at 5:43 a.m. About 45 minutes later, at approximately 6:28 a.m. on the morning of October 31st, groundskeeper Cleophas Martin discovered Cheri's body in the alleyway of Terracina Avenue near Fairfax. She was still dressed in the long-sleeve pale yellow print blouse and faded capri pants, and her woven straw bag, containing both her identification and 56 cents, laid alongside her body. She had been brutally beaten and stabbed multiple times, her throat slashed. Cheri's Beetle was parked just 75 yards east of the location where her body was discovered. The ignition wire of the vehicle had been deliberately pulled loose, but the ignition key was in place, and both the driver and passenger windows were partly rolled down. 3 library books were laying on the front seat, and several smeared, greasy palm prints and fingerprints were found on the vehicle. Investigators would later determine that these prints did not belong to Cheri or any of her friends or relatives, and believed they may have belonged to her killer. 10 feet from Cheri's body, investigators discovered a cheap, paint-splattered Timex brand wristwatch, along with a footprint of a shoe produced by prisoners at the federal prison in Leavenworth, Kansas, that was sold exclusively in military outlets. Although only 5 feet 3 inches tall, Cheri was athletic. The examination of the crime scene and her subsequent autopsy revealed evidence of a ferocious physical struggle between Cheri and her attacker. Fragments of skin and brown hair were recovered from beneath the fingernails of her right hand, indicating she had scratched her assailant's arms, face, and head and torn off his wristwatch. The investigation into Cheri's murder was extensive. The Riverside Police Department interviewed numerous students, faculty, and anyone who might have had information about that night. Despite their best efforts, the case quickly turned cold. However, in November 1966, the Riverside Press Enterprise received a typed letter confessing to the murder. The author, claiming to be the killer, provided details that only the police and the murderer would know. The letter was signed with a symbol resembling a Z. The author of this letter was never identified. Years later, the symbol and the details of Cheri's murder would draw parallels to the infamous Zodiac killer, who terrorized Northern California in the late 60s and early 70s. Some investigators believe that Cheri was an early victim of the Zodiac, although this theory remains highly debated. The Riverside Police Department maintained that there is no evidence linking Cheri's killing to the later Zodiac murders, and they strongly believe that her killer was native to Riverside County. Despite the eerie similarities and the tantalizing connections, the mystery of who killed Cheri remains unsolved. Over the years, the case has seen numerous suspects and theories, but no definite answers. On November 4, 1966, Cheri was laid to rest at the Cresslawn Memorial Park in Riverside. Several hundred mourners were present at the graveside service. Following her murder, Cheri's family established a memorial scholarship at Riverside City College. The Cheri Jo Bates Memorial Endowed Scholarship is awarded to a student active in various school projects and initiatives who demonstrates financial need, undertakes volunteer work, and who majors in music with at least a B average. Despite several suspects having been investigated and eliminated through the years, the Riverside Police Department has stated that one individual still remains a person of interest and the focus of the investigation. And while there is no direct evidence tying that individual to the actual crime, later DNA profiling was able to determine that her killer was a Caucasian male. For nearly 6 decades, the murder of Cheri Jo Bates has left a haunting mark on Riverside and continues to baffle investigators. Her story is a stark reminder of the dark shadows that can linger over even the most promising lives. We must remember Cheri not just as a victim, but as a person whose life was tragically cut short. If you have any information about this case, please contact the Riverside, California Police Department. If you have any thoughts, theories, or comments about the murder of Cheri Jo Bates, please share them in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and may the truth reveal itself in the shadows.